Hey everybody, it's MTG Commander, and here I am reviewing the Mirror Mastery EDH deck. I really like Riku of the Two Reflections. His cost is pretty decent. His ability is amazing. Whenever you cast an enter or sorcery, you can copy it. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can put a token of it into play. I think he's really awesome, and I think he can be a lot of fun to play with. I haven't seen anyone build a deck with him yet, but I'm in the process of maybe thinking of one. He seems really cool, and I like his colors. He really fits in very well. Intet is Intet. There's not much more to say about him. He's pretty decent. He's got a cool ability. Uh, I think he's the weakest of the dragons. I don't know if anyone else agrees with me, but that's how I feel about him. I really like Animar, Soul of Elements. The only thing I don't understand is his protection from white and black. Uh, I just don't see why he needs it. It seems strange. I think he'd be really good with an artifact deck, or if you have Mycosynth Lattice, make everything colorless and make it all cost one colorless less. He makes him really good, especially if you can draw cards and stuff. His colors are really good for what he does. I think that his colors fit him perfectly. So I'm gonna move on to the creatures here. The creatures are pretty decent. I found them pretty group huggish. Magmatic Force I don't like. I don't like the white one. I don't like this one either. Beginning of each upkeep, it deals 3 damage to target creature or player. I find he's a 2 overcosted for 8, and he's a 7/7. That's okay. And his ability does 3 damage. Every upkeep. He's just okay. Nothing amazing, I find. Trench Gorger, I like him. He's interesting. I haven't seen him really get played. But depending on what you do with your deck, you can make him pretty big. I don't know how good that would be, but he's a blue beat, and that's pretty good. I mean, just on his own without exiling anything from your deck, he's already a 6/6 trample, which isn't bad. Conundrum Sphinx. Edric, Spymaster of Trust. I really like this guy a lot. I think he can be a good general on his own. He makes people draw cards. He's kind of group huggish in that you deal damage to any opponent of yours, um, and they get to draw cards, and it makes people not want to attack you and stay off your back because they want to draw. Because who doesn't want to draw cards in EDH, right? So they'll attack your opponents and stuff, and he's kind of like a good way to get them to attack you, to attack your opponents, and so he's very political. I find I like him a lot. Yeah, a lot of the creatures are just okay in this deck. I really find that kind of contradictory to what it is, though, with the generals that it has. But I mean, it's okay. They're nothing amazing, I find. Um, One thing to note, though, is Hydra Omnivore. I really like Hydra Omnivore. He's really political, and he's just like a crazy beatstick, just hitting everyone all the time. He's really cool. I like him a lot, and I think he's really fun. And here I put these guys together because they all have Evoke. And one of the things with these generals, with Animar and with Riku, is that even if you cast them for their Evoke cost, you still get their abilities. Animar gets its +1/+1 counter, and Riku can make a copy of it that comes into play for 2. And so that's really cool. One thing about this deck also is that it has a Planeswalker, Garruk, Wildspeaker. I really like Garruk. He's my favorite Planeswalker. I know he's not the most powerful, but he's my favorite because he's just so self-efficient, I find. He costs 4, and you use his first ability to untap 2 lands that you use to summon him. I mean, all these decks have a Soul Ring, and so it's Soul Ring and 2 green, untap your 2 green lands for something else. He's a really good Planeswalker. I like him a lot. So here again we have our artifacts. Again, Soul Ring, great card. Uh, After some thought, I found that the artifacts in these decks seem to be just mana fixing, and the signets, which are always nice, um, could be used for better. Could be used as a better slots for something else. Uh, there's a lot of potential that can be put into the artifact, especially in this one, especially also with the enchantments, as it only contains the vows. Uh, but I feel that though this is a creature deck, perhaps it might not need it. but there are definitely some other spells and enchantments and stuff and artifacts that can be included that would really help out, especially with the idea of NMR and artifact affinity deck, or a mana ramp kind of deck, because this deck, especially with Riku, can be very mana intensive. An interesting thought could be that while these are mana helping, they're not particularly efficient at producing lots of mana. And the enchantments could be done differently in terms of I know that there's spells like Wild Pair, which would be good with Riku. I know that because it enters the battlefield. There are others that are very powerful that can be used with Riku. Killer Instincts would be very interesting to see. Killer Instincts. Natural Predators is another one of those cards. Really, I find the deck is more based off of Riku, or at least the deck I'm thinking of in this case is based off of Riku than anything else. On that note, I might be making a Riku deck as all these ideas come to me, but you never know. And here we have our instance, Brainstorm, a great card for blue. Fire and Ice. Tribute to the Wild. Colossal Might. Invigorate. Spell Crumble. I like this a lot. It's kind of like Hinder. I like it. It's also not as good because you can't recur it or put it back in the top of your library or something. Instead, this one goes to the bottom of your library, which isn't that great. Otherwise, pretty standard in terms of the power in these decks. I like them. Hunting Pack I like a lot in this deck. It's very good. Put a 4/4 green beast creature token into the battlefield and it has Storm. I like it a lot. I think it's a bit expensive, but what do you know? Fire Spouts, just whatever. Kadama's Reach is a good card. Cultivate's always a great card. Hull Breach is a very good card, and it sees not as much play as I think it should. It's excellent. Collective Voyage is a great card. I'm putting it into one of my decks. It's great for helping people get lands and stuff, and it's really an awesome card in particular. The rest are pretty good. Chain Reaction is very good with Riku because you can have more than one creature out. You can have much more creatures out. It's also very good with Animar, as it's easier to play creatures and you won't particularly kill him as he has +1/+1 counters on him. So that's always very good too. Death by Dragons I like. It's a very political tool. I like it a lot. Let's see. Vengeful Rebirth. I don't like this card. It's like it's a very, very, very bad version of some very good cards, and I don't see why it needs to be put into this kind of deck. There are other ones that can be better. It's not particularly dreadful as it deals damage, but its cost is too high. If the cost was 4, if it was 2 red-green, I think it would be much better. But there you go. That's what it is. Disaster Radius is pretty good, and Call of the Skybreaker is not so bad either. And last but certainly not least are the lands. Command Tower. Evolving Wilds, not bad. I'm not a big fan of the storage lands, but they're not terrible. The bounce lands. This one has Homeward Path. I really like Homeward Path. It's a great card in EDH. It doesn't necessarily have to go into every EDH deck, but it's very good, especially against Chaos decks and those decks that just steal everything from you. I like it a lot. It's only creatures, unfortunately. It'd be really cool if it was all permanents, but I guess the flavor wouldn't make as much sense. I like it. For me, it's a good card. This deck has a bit more of the non-basic lands. They're not bad, except for Rupture Spire, of course. But I like them all. Temple of the False God is a great card in every EDH deck. They should all run it, or most of them should run it. I don't see why you wouldn't. It's a great card. I like seeing it reprinted like that. And of course, we've got our basics. And so this has been MTG Commander. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe. And tell me what you think. I'll be posting the next and final deck soon.